Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the third episode of Yee-Haw, Bonanza podcast. I am your host, Melissa, and today we are watching Season 1, Episode 3, The Newcomers. You know what's funny about my podcast title is every time I say Yee-Haw, I feel like I have to say it with with a certain amount of gusto. Otherwise, it just seems so lame, like Yee-Haw, a Bonanza podcast. I feel so insecure if I don't give it somewhat of an effort. But yeah, we're gonna watch the Newcomers today. I'm actually excited to watch this one. I really enjoyed it. I haven't seen these early season 1 episodes in well over a year, and I'm surprised at how little I remembered of this episode, but also how much I liked it. So I'm pretty excited to watch this one today. I have also got my drink for today. My drink of choice is a sparkling ice orange mango flavor. I don't know if any of you have ever tried those, but they're so good, even though they're probably terrible for your teeth. I had that, and I had a panini, so I am all good to go for today. But you guys didn't tune in to hear what I'm eating and drinking. You tuned in to watch Bonanza, so we're going to go ahead and read some episode details on the Newcomers and waste no time getting into this episode. Additionally, one of my listeners has reached out via email to share his personal thoughts on this episode, so stay tuned for the very end of the show where I will be reading his thoughts and we'll have a fun little discussion. So make sure you stay for the entirety of the video to hear those thoughts at the end. And as always, if you guys want to share any thoughts on these episodes that we watch, please feel free to email me at meltyenjoys@gmail.com. I would love to read your thoughts on the show, and I'm always interested to hear what you guys think. Also, if you're enjoying this podcast so far, I would be so grateful and so appreciative if you would drop me a positive review on Apple Podcasts. Every little bit helps. I would be so grateful to hear what you think of the show, and a 5-star review really does go a long way. Okay, so let's read some episode details on the Newcomers. This episode was written by Thomas Thompson, David Dortort, and Fred Hamilton. It was directed by Christian Nyby, I think is how you say his last name. I am not good with last names. We have reiterated this over and over and over and over again, but I think it's Nyby. So it was directed by Christian Nyby. It premiered September 26, 1959. Its special guest of the week was Inger Stevens, but it also featured John Larch, Robert Knapp, Charles Maxwell, George J. Lewis, and Byron Foulger. I'm not good with last names. I'm so sorry if I botched them. The episode description, the way it's written here on IMDb, I get all of my episode descriptions off of IMDb. The way it's written is not good. So I'm just going to read it, but it's not like the best episode description grammatically. It says, the Cartwrights discover an old enemy killing steers on the Ponderosa. Their camp has a sickly woman who needs to get to the high desert country. When an innocent man is killed, Ben decides to boot all of them back to California, but he gets resistance from others in the camp and some local miners who now believe Ben is hiding gold. Kind of a mouthful of a description, but whatever. Interestingly enough, this episode is directed by Christian Nyby, and he is actually super interesting because it says he directed 26 episodes of Bonanza. And it is funny, you see his name come up a lot every time I watch an episode of Bonanza. I just check out the IMDb page, for fun little details or facts or filming locations. And his name was popping up so frequently that I decided to dive on into his credits. And this guy has been involved with like every prominent show in Hollywood for the time. Like he's got like an amazing track record. Just to give you guys some examples, on his IMDb page, it says that he worked on Adam 12, Kojak, The $6 Million Man, Firehouse, Lassie, Emergency, The Jimmy Stewart Show, The Streets of San Francisco, Daniel Boone, I Spy, Bonanza, obviously, The Fugitive, The Legend of Jesse James, Gilligan's Island, Gunsmoke, Rawhide, The Twilight Zone, Perry Mason. I mean, this guy worked on everything. You name it, he probably worked on it. It's a really, really, honestly, impressive track record. So you guys should go check that out. Christian Nyby had a very, very prominent track record in Hollywood. and his name comes up a ton in Bonanza. So maybe for this week we need to pay attention more to the way it's shot, and maybe in future episodes we really pay attention to the way it was shot, because this guy clearly was prominent in Hollywood. Okay, what do you think? Enough episode details on the newcomers for today. Let's go ahead and watch this episode. 3, 2, 1, go. God, that's loud. Okay. The only talk he understands comes out of this. Whip's gone out. Violence. He'll understand violence. Ben's like, okay, you seem expendable. Bum bada bum bada bum bada bum 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 bada bum bada bum bada bum bum bada bum bum bum. I actually missed that shot of them riding in. Like that close-up shot, I mean. Also, they changed the title cards to how it looked in the pilot episode. Again, because it was different last week. I do really like these three characters, Blake, John, and Emily. Actually, it is a pretty steady uphill improvement in terms of the antagonists of each week. Not that I would call John and Emily antagonists. Obviously, like, Blake is the antagonist, but they're much better characters. This guy. I have so many thoughts on this guy. He is the epitome of a devil on his shoulder. There's always a smug extra cowboy ranch hand that is causing problems or giving bad advice to like the main bad guy. Adam is the second parent. And you know what I've noticed is usually, I don't think this is intentional at all. Usually Adam is positioned to Ben's right which could be taken as his right-hand man. I don't know if I'm reading into that too much, but that's always the way I've taken it. Justin Flannery's like, these people don't represent me, please. Have mercy. And Haas's face was like, what's a botanist? Help me. Okay, watch Adam's face. He notices the guy in the back that slowly reaches for his gun. I love it because Adam catches onto it really quick and almost like he's waiting for him to make a move. Right here. There's Adam noticing. He relaxes and he just gets ready. Ah, I love that. I love that so much. Ugh, I love little details like that. No, we do not accept self-deprecation here. They always act like Hoss is this big, ugly guy, and he's really not, though. You know, it's funny too, the blood, whenever somebody gets shot on this show, the blood either looks like real blood or it looks like paint, and it changes so much. Like there, I would say the blood effect looked really good. But in later episodes, it'll be like it'll look like a paint splatter or it'll look like chalk blood. I just think like the quality of it, how much it changes is funny. That's fair. Hmm. I really like Inger Stevens, I think is her last name in this episode. She's very understated. Very like she's very understated and it works quite well, I think. I would love to listen to Lorne Green just tell stories. He's got such a storytelling voice. Again, Adam standing to Ben's right. This has been so frequent. I don't think it's intentional, but I love the symbolism of it. You know, it plays into Adam's character. He had to mature from a very young age. He had to be the second parental figure. Am I reading into that too much? Let me know. This is actually a really interesting argument. See, I like her character a lot because she's understated, but she's firm, but without trying to be firm. I like her personality a lot. Adam's face was interesting there. The face that he made at him, at Ben. The argument between Ben and the Penningtons is actually kind of fascinating because you can see both sides of Ben and how he evolved. Like, obviously, he's not like yelling and being over the top and aggressive. Get off our land, da 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 da. But it's assertive. But he does become so much softer in later episodes. I do kind of miss that aspect of his personality in later episodes. Like, in later episodes, they're very welcoming to people, and I like that, but I also do kind of miss, like, the assertion. I don't know if I'm explaining this well enough. Maybe I'll go into that later, but also, I'm just going to say, I do not believe that they were ever in love. They don't act like it at all. Like, he gives her one kiss in the beginning, but it doesn't. I don't. Their romantic relationship does not feel believable to me. She doesn't look very sickly, does she? Perfect makeup, perfect hair. He deserved that. In what right mind did they think that this was a good plan? Kill the botanist. Also, why? I mean, I know why, but why? And I love this plan because Ben calls it out in like 2 minutes. He goes, I know exactly what you were doing, and I know that somebody here did it. I think that's one thing that bothered me about this episode. You have two characters that die in this episode, and you don't really feel anything for them because they weren't there to be characters. They were just there to die. And I feel like if they had given them maybe a little bit more screen time or had made them likable, maybe their deaths would have had more of an impact. I don't know. Look at how minimal the Ponderosa is here. Just the set. In later seasons, they have flowers all over the deck. They have plants, but it looks so barren here. Not used to that at all. Not the innocent botanist. Like, they should have built... I know they didn't. They had to pick and choose where to put their time, but it give us a reason to care that the botanist is dead. Give him somewhat of a character. Like, maybe he was really good friends with Emily. Or maybe they had known each other for years. I don't know. Just add something to make us feel for his death. I love that. The family unit comes into play. Exactly. Like, how did they expect this was gonna go? I love Joe's temper. I love that part of his character. Oh, can I have 20 hosses, please? He's so cute. Oh my god, he doesn't want to scare her. That's so cute. Oh, man. How could anybody not like Hoss? Don't trust anybody who doesn't like Hoss Cartwright. Oh my god, can I have 20 of him? He's so sweet. I love Hoss. Oh my gosh. I also like how Ben was like, we all talked about it, and we decided that you probably stand the most of a chance if they try to beat you up. There's also some really nice outside shots in this episode. I get why they did the in-studio shots, but when they film outside, it makes the world feel so much bigger. You feel much more immersed in it, in the episode as a whole. And the Laura episodes of Bonanza in season 5 are pretty controversial, but I love the way the first episode of that story arc was filmed, because most of it was outside. And it just made the world of Bonanza feel so much bigger. She's sick and they still made her cook? Well, maybe it's a distraction for her. Who knows? You know, I do really feel bad for John in this episode. Also, that was so uncalled for, dude. I really like John's character is very like sweet. Oh my gosh. Oh, I really like this scene in this conversation. Such a nice pause in the episode. And a really good character building episode, I would say, for Haas. Like a get to know Haas episode. This is such like a nice little pause in the episode to not only help you like get to know Haas, but it's just a very human conversation. Like little moments like that can add so much to an episode. And I think that's really honestly the reason why I like this episode so much. I like the pacing a lot. I like Emily's character. I think it's a very nice episode to get to know Haas. Even Blake and this guy, the devil on his shoulder character. I like them. I like John. I like Emily. I like Blake. I think they're all pretty well defined in contrast to each other. This poor botanist. They're like, let's kill the botanist and blame it on the Cartwrights. That plan clearly didn't go anywhere. Ben called it out so quick. This botanist didn't even get a chance to study his scientific bugs. So sad. I wonder what training to ride these horses looked like for this show. Okay, this upcoming scene, I still don't know what the point of it was other than to be Blake murders people and he should be taken seriously because he kills people. Like, we have. Maybe I should just let it happen. So, like, okay. They just. Jose has one scene in the beginning, and they're like. And he basically goes, hey, Ben, any problem of yours is a problem of mine because we're really good friends. But then they don't show that. They don't show that they're really good friends. It's like, yeah, okay. He's in that one scene in the beginning, and then they kill him 10 minutes later. Like, what was the point of Jose if, other than like to be a murder victim? But like a murder victim with no impact other than just being the murder victim. Like, I don't. It maybe that's the biggest qualm I have with this episode is you kill these two characters that we don't have a relationship with, but they're there to prove the point that, like, oh, Blake's a bad guy and you should take him seriously, but give us something to go on with Jose and the botanist whose name escapes me. But they kill them and they expect us to have a reaction, which I think is kind of funny. Also, this jump scare. I was eating a snack when this scene went off, and I was just like, ah! Okay, this, if you look in the background, you can see the house and you can see the family room in the background. In later seasons, when you open the door, you get this weird hallway and you can't see the interior of the house. But when they open the door to the interior of the house, it leads directly into the family room. And in later episodes, they add a hallway. And I don't get why they did that. But I noticed that when I was watching this episode last night to take notes. That's a really nice shot right there. The silhouettes of the lake behind. That is such sibling dynamic. Oh, Joe, you're so quick to apologize. I love it. Ew. Yes. This time, Haas karate chops. Love it. Aw, John. I like John. I like his character an awful lot. I wonder what Emily has. At first I thought it was tuberculosis, but they never show any like blood on her handkerchief, like when she coughs. It could have been any number of things back then. It would have been nice if they had tried to make her look sickly, because she has a lot of eyeshadow and her mascara's on point, and you know, even when it's like, oh, she was supposed to have been in bed, she's got like her hair looks perfect, a nice full face of makeup. Is it a huge deal? I don't know. It's just it doesn't add up with what they're telling us. I would melt. She's like, oop, he called me pretty. Touch up my face and my dress. That's a very nicely composed shot. I like the way that looks. It's very pretty. Good Lord, her waist is so tiny. Like, oh, stop this. I will punch anyone who calls Haas ugly. I don't believe that at all. Especially with such like a pure soul. You can't trust anyone who dislikes Haas. I said what I said. You cannot trust anyone who dislikes Haas. I like how this plan didn't do anything. And then after they talk to the Cartwrights, they're like, oh yeah, I guess, okay, well, they didn't shoot Flannery, I guess. I think the pacing of this episode is quite nice. Like it feels close to the ending, but we still have quite a bit of time. Like 15 minutes maybe left. This is also a really nice conversation. I like that they take the time to put this in the episode and have them talk about things. And David Rose's musical score is really lovely as well. I don't know if I've said that yet. but it's so pretty. I love his description of that too, like the romanticizing nature. Like, where is this in television? Just talk about simple, mundane things. It just it humanizes the characters so much. Oh, God, he's so sweet. Why did he say it that way? It was so cute. They fall in love so quickly on this show. But I guess it was like, get married because we all don't have long lives back then anyway. I wonder the total amount of love stories they had on this show. Because after a certain point, they just stopped giving Haas love stories. Well, or at least they went a period of time where he just did not have love stories, and it would be like, I think Little Joe probably has the most. And then Adam. Heck, even Ben got at least like 5 or 6 love stories. Haas is like, I have to go. Old man Cartwright and his boys. Man, they were all really good horse riders. I wonder what that training looked like, honestly. I love the way he grabs that guy and just throws him off his horse. That's right, John. Just doesn't do anything. You just dropped him like he was a noodle. Like this. Blake's like, old man Cartwright killed the innocent botanist, and all the miners are like, yeah! And then the second the Cartwrights come in, they're like, actually, no. We redact that. I forgot how different the Ponderosa used to look. I wanted to make some comparison shots of that later. She looks perfectly fine. It's 1959 television. I can let it go, but it would be nice if they put some effort into it. I'm sad for John. My makeup's already done. Okay, now this is actually where the episode gets really sad, and I kind of forgot about how sad it is. Look at how minimal that set is. Like, the chairs aren't there, the flowers are on the roof aren't there. No, she has to leave. No. Like, this, and Haas doesn't even know that this is a goodbye between siblings. That would kill me inside. I have a lot of, I know, I've talked an awful lot about John. I have a lot of empathy for John. Unspoken hero of this episode. Nobody deserves Haas. Nobody. But I would have liked to have seen him get married. This kills me. No. Look at the way his face changes. Darn you, David Rose's sad, melancholy score in the background. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh, the swell of the score, and he takes off his hat. He's in such awe of her. But she knows, oh. My God, stick a knife in my heart, why don't you? Hmm. No. Y'all to just be dead silent. No. Maybe it just hurts more because it's Haas. I hate watching Haas get his heart broken. I hate it. It hits so much different. It's just like, you're like, I don't want anything to hurt you. No. I forgot to mention this, but when Emily's leaving, she looks like she wanted Haas to stop her. I forgot to mention that. This is also kind of heartbreaking coming from Ben. Aw, the way he said that. The music is doing a lot for it, too. Gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, that quiet little scene. This is one big ouch, the second half of the episode. I like how when one of them's upset, the other ones are very in tune to it and they just want to help. It's very sweet. Adam's smile in the back. And somehow everything will be okay. Well, that concludes episode 3 of Bonanza. Oh my goodness. Gosh, the second half of that episode just really tugs at your heartstrings and makes you feel awful for Haas. Just tally 1 for how many women die on Bonanza seasons 1 and 2. Right? Should we do a tally? Maybe we should do a tally, guys. Maybe that's number 1. Number 1 is Emily Pennington. So maybe we'll keep a list of how many women die in seasons 1 and 2 of Bonanza. But wow, I mean, gosh, the second half of that episode, it really does come for you. I will say, I don't love the ending of that episode. You know, he just kind of comes in, but nobody really says anything. There's just like a quiet amount of support, and it's like, okay, he's able to move on. But I almost wish they had that. I think, is that scene where Haas is sitting at the lake and he's like, God, you need to help me? Does that scene take place at the place that he was telling Emily about? Because if it does, it would have almost been nicer if he was sitting there and he was praying and then Ben comes up behind him and they have a quiet conversation there and then they end the episode, because I kind of feel like they just kind of left it hanging a little bit, and I think that they could have tied it all together in maybe a little bit more of a cohesive way. I almost wanted Ben to come up to Haas and just be like, I understand. Like, I'm not going through what you're going through, but I understand the way that you feel. And it could have been a nice, like, father and son moment. And they're next to, like, the dogwood. And I don't know, it would have been nicer to, like, see that come full circle. But I would have liked to have seen maybe Ben be a part of that final act. It could have been a nice moment between Ben and Haas at the end where he's, like, playing with the dogwood and at the location that he likes to be by himself. I feel like that would have tied the episode together better. But those are just my personal thoughts. Otherwise, I really liked it. I really enjoyed that one. I think Inger Stevens is very understated. I said this earlier, but she's so, like, she's not trying. Like, some actors, I feel like they're really trying hard, and I feel like that she was just a very sweet, likable character, and she didn't impose on a scene. She just felt like a very natural part of the episode, and I really liked her a lot. But generally, I really like that one. I really enjoyed it, and it marks the first of the character-focused episodes. So Haas gets the first spotlight, but I think it was a really nice Haas-centric episode, a really nice, like, here, get to know Haas, get to know his personality and how he relates to people and how he feels about horses and nature. So I thought it was a really nice episode for him. Blake's, I liked his character. I liked John's character. They're slowly improving on the antagonists of the week. Blake's plan was so stupid and backfired on him. But it's improving, you know. The first episode got improved upon by the second, got improved upon by the third, and that's all you can ask for in the first season of a TV series. It's like I said, the first season of a television show is usually kind of rough, and you have to get through that first season because you really need to find out, like, who the characters are, how they relate to each other, what's the world that they live in, what do the plots look like for these episodes, what do the antagonists look like. So I'm not going to be too hard on season one, because often season one isn't a great example of what a show can eventually become. But those are my thoughts on the episode. On the disc set, they didn't have a ton of behind the scenes stuff for this particular episode. They had some very, very cute behind the scene pictures of Dan Blocker and Inger Stevens in, like, outside publicity stills. So those were cute. Oh, yeah, and we have a listener comment, so let me pull that up before we close out today's show. Okay, so I have a comment from one of my followers, Richard. Thank you so much for your email and sharing your thoughts. I'm going to read a couple of your thoughts in this email that stood out to me. And once again, guys, if you want to share any thoughts on these Bonanza episodes, I would love to read them on the show and have a discussion. So if you want to email me with your thoughts on these episodes, you can email me at meltyandjoys@gmail.com. Okay, so Richard says, I was too impatient to share my thoughts. First, let me say I never expected a tearjerker episode. I don't know why, but it took me by surprise. Same. I didn't remember this one, and I was surprisingly emotional by the end. We finally get to see the softer side of Haas and see how genuinely nice he is to animals and how much he enjoys nature and beautiful things in general. As a Haas fan, this was a great episode for me, even though Haas was a bit more naive than I would have liked. Yeah, so I definitely agree seeing the softer side of Haas and how much, like, he loves animals and he's just, like, a very simple guy. I definitely agree with that. Was he naive? Yeah, probably. Probably, but that could also be taken as, like, a character thing, too. Interesting thoughts. That could have just been taken as a character tick, but maybe he was a little bit naive. I mean, but he also didn't know the seriousness of Emily's sickness. I don't think any of us did, really. It's just like, oh, she has a really, really bad cough, but they never really go into details of, like, what she has, like if it's tuberculosis or something else. Working for the Cartwrights is a dangerous job. Last week we lost a Native American, and this week we watched Jose. I don't know if this means anything, but I noticed that both were not white men. Yeah, I noticed that too. I didn't really think too much about it. I just think that it's like, I don't understand the point of killing, or I don't understand the point of having characters like the botanist and Jose in this particular episode if you're not going to somewhat give us a relationship with them. Like, it's implied that Jose has this really deep friendship with the Cartwrights, and then the Cartwrights don't really seem to have that much of a reaction to Jose's death. It's like, oh, okay, he's just dead and gone. And on top of that, Jose didn't really have the character, so I didn't feel anything when he died. So I'm kind of like, well, what was the point of him being there? You know, I hate saying this, but like, we had more of a relationship to John in this episode, and if they had killed John, I would have hated it, but I think I would have had more of a reaction to it. Like, I think it would have meant something more because you have more of a relationship with John than you do with Jose. And then the character of last week that was killed, Tukwa. Tukwa had more of a relationship with the Cartwrights, but again, I didn't really feel anything because they were telling us how much of a relationship they have with the Cartwrights and not really showing us. So it's hard to feel connected when they kill certain characters off. But for this week, I agree. I'm just like, I don't understand why Jose was there / even killed. Richard goes on to say, here are some more memorable quotes, at least to me. Joe says, sickness of gold. Jose says, sickness of gold. I can't help being ugly, can I? Hoss to Emily. Can't you control that miserable coughing? Blake to Emily. I like all animals. You can trust them. Hoss to Emily. I love you, Hoss. Emily to Hoss. I agree. Those are all very noteworthy quotes. I would also add the quote in the beginning where, what did I say? I wrote it down. It's the quote where Joe's like, any talk he understands is this, and then he pulls out the gun. You're just like, okay, aggression. Take it back. So that's probably my favorite quote of the episode. Richard goes on to say, my only criticism of this week's episode is just how great Emily's makeup is, especially her eyeshadow, even on the run with Hoss and even with as sick as she was. Totally agree there. They didn't put any effort into making her look sickly. I don't know why. So it's the 1950s. Maybe they were more concerned with making the women very appealing and beautiful. That being said, I think it would have gone a long way to actually show us how sick she was. And maybe you could also argue that that plays into Hoss's naivete. If I looked at that lady and everyone was saying that she was sick, I would not have believed them. So maybe that also plays into Hoss's naivete. Richard also adds, I ordered the entire series from Amazon and it will be delivered tomorrow, Friday. So you would have gotten it yesterday. Have a wonderful day, and I'm looking forward to the next episode of Bonanza or Columbo or whatever gets posted. Thank you so much, Richard. Thank you so much for your email and for sharing your thoughts. Or, excuse me, Robert, I also apologize. I started calling you Richard for some reason. I don't know why my brain just kind of shut off there, but please forgive me. I did not mean to do that. Thank you so much, Robert, for sharing your thoughts and for this lovely email. As always, guys, once again, if you want to share your thoughts and have them read on the show, you can email me at meltyandjoyce@gmail.com. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode, everyone. Please let me know what you guys think of the Newcomers. I think that this is a pretty good character-focused episode, and I would love to hear what your thoughts are. Join me next week when we watch, I think it's the Paiute War. Yes, it is. The Paiute War. That one will be very interesting. And it's an Adam-centric episode, and Adam's my favorite, so I am really looking forward to that one. There's actually a couple really good scenes. And the ending of next week's episode really surprised me. Let me put it that way. But until then, you guys, I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching this episode with me, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts. Have a great afternoon, morning, or evening, wherever you are, and I will see you in the next episode. Have a great day, everybody.